Tonight's news: changes at the OSU bookstore, good news for the housing market, and a hurricane nearing the Mexican coast. All that and more right here on KBVR.
Good evening, Corvallis, and welcome to your Monday night edition of the Beaver News. We're glad to have you with us. I'm Hayden Wilcox.
And I'm Cassady Gilroy. Oregon State University's Cascade campus has been enrolling more students than ever before. According to the Daily Barometer, 10% more students than last year have joined the campus. A large number of these students are transfers from Central Oregon Community College, a partner of Cascades. As stated by OSU Cascades, it is a unique resource for Central Oregon, offering accredited 4-year and master's degrees. They offer a variety of programs, including exercise and sports science, human development, and energy engineering management. Cascades Vice President Rebecca Johnson believes that the spike in enrollment is partly due to the recessive economy, but mainly due to the services that the Cascades offers to students unable to enroll full-time at OSU. She stated, quote, "The spike is not temporary. As bad as the economy is, more people want to learn. I feel that as the economy becomes less of an issue, we will still maintain increasing enrollment numbers."
Leader of the Able Student Alliance, Jeffrey Evans, is challenging Oregon State University and demanding that they properly comply with regulations set out by the Americans with Disabilities Act. OSU's own Accessible University Initiative Task Force, AUITF, is a campus-specific program designed to make sure the university holds up to the standards set out by the Americans with Disabilities Act, ADA, and improve upon the accessibility of campus to all students. As reported by the Barometer's Alex Hilborn, Jeffrey Evans and committee members of the ASA have charged the AUITF with inadequately doing its job. Evans has repeatedly cited OSU with ADA violations and says that the administration here on campus has not properly addressed the issue of accessibility for the disabled. Because of these violations, the ADA is threatening lawsuits against the university unless a monetary plan and timeline are created in the near future. This lawsuit would freeze all federal assistance, grants, and loans to the university. Evans makes several claims against the campus, insisting that OSU's proximity to a historical district is an attempt by the city of Corvallis to exempt university buildings from ADA regulations. The AUITF has called for a meeting with the ASA in order to work out the necessary improvements. Jeffrey Evans is still concerned, quote, "Culture is going to change. It can be done the easy way or the hard way. The time to do it the easy way is fast running out."
Oregon State University's John Becker Blees, an associate professor in the College of Business, has recently been named the 2011 Aspen Institute Faculty Pioneer. According to the Barometer, this prestigious award was given out last Friday and is designed to encourage and increase awareness in social issues, particularly by focusing on business and their long-term goals. Becker Blees added, quote, "One of the ways they do that is to encourage faculty members to conduct research that focuses on fair treatment and fair trade globalization," end quote. The Aspen Institute also conducts a ranking of graduate business schools, and for 6 years in a row, OSU has been named as one of the top universities.
You may have noticed some changes going on in our bookstore recently. In fact, it's not even called the bookstore anymore. Yes, the name has been officially changed to the OSU Beaver Store. This is just one of the many changes to come about for the store, including an upcoming location change. In 2013, the Beaver Store will move into its new space across from Gill Coliseum, currently occupied by a parking structure. As reported by Gren Shaw of the Daily Barometer, the change is due to an expiration of a 10-year lease with the Memorial Union building. And at the end of that lease, the MU plans to replace that space that the Beaver Store currently occupies with the new Student Experience Center. The new Beaver Store location will boast 52,000 square feet of space, plenty of room for both offices and retail, and will include 90 short-term parking spaces for Beaver Store customers. Construction of the new building will begin in spring of 2013, begin this spring, and predicted completion by 2013.
A new hope arises for those living with Lou Gehrig's disease. Researchers from the Linus Pauling Institute here at Oregon State University has partnered with researchers from the Pasteur Institute of Montevideo and Clemente Establer Institute in Uruguay. They have recently discovered a neural cell that appears to be linked to the progression of amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, more commonly known as ALS or Lou Gehrig's disease. They have found a new type of astrocyte cell, a cell common in the brain that provides metabolic support and protection to neurons. However, they can sometimes become toxic and cause the death of motor neurons. But scientists are now able to design markers to help identify these cells. Joe Beckman, an OSU professor of biochemistry and the principal investigator at the Linus Pauling Institute, stated, quote, "These cells are a new target to aim at, a basis for therapies for this disease."
Are you feeling stressed with midterms, grades, and studying? Well, a new study by OSU researchers has found that people with a consistently moderate to high stress rate are shown to have a 50% higher mortality rate. As reported by the university, the 18-year-long study, started in 1985, was designed for the demographic of older men. The focus of the project was to see how different levels of stress affected the body. Over 1,000 working men were documented over this 18-year-long study and placed into either a low, medium, or high stress group. This stress was determined by the amount of significant life-changing events an individual had per year, such events included divorce, death of a spouse, or putting a parent into a retirement home. Those with a 1 to 2 event per year on average were placed in the low stress category. Those with 3 to 4 were placed in the moderate, and those with more than 5 life events per year were put into the high stress category. The results of the study showed that those with a medium to high stress rate were significantly more likely to die earlier than those with a low stress, and that the body's threshold is about 1 to 2 events per year. However, scientists have found a few protective factors, such as good health, marriage, and moderate drinking. According to project researcher Carolyn Aldwin, quote, "Perhaps trying to keep your major stress levels to a minimum, being married, and having a glass of wine every day is the secret to living a long life."
Be warned, your car may be in danger of being keyed. Oregon State Police and the Department of Public Safety issued a security alert this morning, informing the Corvallis community of a recent slew of vehicle vandalism. 8 individual reports of cars being keyed have been submitted since the 15th of October. One suspect has been arrested on charges of criminal offense for 2 of the 8 occurrences. The reports originated from the parking areas near Jefferson Street, which include the bookstore and Kerr Administration Building, Sackett Hall, Benton Place, and the Grand Oaks Apartments. The Department of Public Safety urges all citizens to report any vandalism immediately, as well as any people who are acting suspicious around parking lots. In order to reach DPS, please head over to Cascade Hall or dial 541-737-3010.
Research from the Forestry Department here at OSU has led to some interesting insight on global warming and cooling. Scientists have found that boreal forests with less canopy cover and a significant amount of snow can actually increase the reflectiveness of the Earth's surface and reflect energy back into space. This effect is known as the albedo effect. As reported by the university, this effect can actually provide local cooling, potentially offsetting the negative effects of CO2 in the atmosphere. However, forces like fire, insects, and hurricanes can destroy forest canopies in non-boreal forests and present a darker surface of the Earth. The darker surfaces would actually absorb the heat, causing a local increase in temperatures. These natural forces destroying the trees would further increase the effects of global warming by destroying any chance the trees have at absorbing greenhouse gases like CO2. Beverly Law, a professor in the Department of Forestry, Ecosystems, and Society here at OSU, said, quote, "On a global scale, warming caused by increase in carbon dioxide still trumps everything else on a smaller or local scale. However, changes in albedo can be fairly important, especially in areas with significant amounts of snow, such as high latitudes or higher elevations." We're going to take a quick break, but don't go anywhere because we'll be right back with your national stories in just a few minutes.
Pants, pants, pants. I am folding the pants. The pants are long. Do they go on my head? Do they? Do the pants go on my head? No.
Everyday moments can become teaching moments because learning starts long before school does. Give your child the start they need at bornlearning.org.
So you can't save money? That's easy as pie. Brown bagging lunch instead of going out. $6 save times 5 days a week times 10 years is $21,000. That's a lot of lettuce. Small changes today, big bucks tomorrow. Feedthepig.org.
Hair loss. Now this rash on my face, what's going on?
For answers, ask your doctor the right question.
Could I have lupus?
Oh, those boys are much too much. Those boys are much too much. We got the spirit. We're hot. We can't be stopped. We got the spirit. We're hot. We can't be stopped. We're going to beat them and bust them. Beat them.
The smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life.
Let's get a little bit rowdy. R-O-W-D-Y.
Take time to be a dad
One more
today.
time. Oh, those boys are much too much. Those boys.
When I have an asthma attack, I feel scared. Sometimes my parents have to take me to the hospital. I feel like a fish with no water.
You know how to react to their asthma attacks. Here's how to prevent them. Call 1-866-NO-ATTACKS. Visit www.noattacks.org or call your doctor. Because even one attack is one too many.
Welcome back to the Beaver News live on Channel 26. Could a volcano cause the end of the world? Yes, according to researchers at Oregon State University, who have recently developed a new model to help explain the phenomenon known as super eruptions. Major volcanic systems experience these so-called super eruptions approximately every 100,000 years, and these are considered to be one of the most catastrophic events on Earth, short of a meteor impact. Early believed to be caused by a simple massive trigger from within the magma chamber located at the heart of a volcano, research conducted at OSU's College of Oceanic and Atmospheric Sciences points to a creation of a, quote, ductile halo of rock around the magma chamber which allows the pressure to build over tens of thousands of years, resulting in an extensive uplifting in the roof above the magma chamber.
A new bill is creating a win-win scenario for the housing market across the nation. The new bill, sponsored by Senators Charles Schumer and Mike Lee, would allow foreign investors a U.S. visa if they spend at least $500,000 in real estate in the U.S. States like Texas, California, Arizona, Florida, Hawaii, and even New York have been pioneering ground for this kind of market for several decades already. In southern Florida alone, the foreign buyers already account for a staggering 25% of the housing market, most of these sales going to people from Canada and South America. Studies showed that in the early 2000s, the foreign market had been dominated by Western European buyers because of the strength of the euro. Nowadays, however, many more houses are being sold to people from Asian countries with a promise of strong future market. CNN reports that in order to fully qualify for a homeowner's visa through this program, buyers would need to pay for the house in cash, pay U.S. taxes, and live in the country for at least 180 consecutive days. In return, participants would be able to live in the United States for 3 years.
In the ongoing slew of demonstrations similar to the Occupy Wall Street protest currently ongoing in New York City, over 1,000 citizens were present in Grant Park, Chicago, for the so-called Occupy Chicago, according to CNN. Chicago police, attempting to clear out the citizens, announced that the protesters had to vacate the park for reasons of the park closing. Most of the protesters left, but 130 citizens refused and were consequently arrested. These Occupy protests are rallies against what has been described as, quote, the nation's wealthiest 1% inordinate sway over the rest of the population, end quote, as well as corporate greed and the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan.
In the wake of an exotic animal fiasco in Ohio last week, Ohio Governor John Kasich is cracking down on animal control laws. Last week, Terry Thompson, Ohio resident and exotic animal collector, had a mental breakdown and released all 56 of his pets in the Ohio landscape before proceeding to take his own life. According to CNN, Thompson, a 62-year-old Vietnam vet with post-traumatic stress disorder, broke down after years of dealing with crippling debt, false accusations of animal cruelty. Police were called to the scene to control the animals, and all but 6 of the animals released were put down by authorities. The officers claimed that their actions were the only way to ensure the safety of the public. Among the animals killed in the incident included 2 wolves, 6 black bears, 2 grizzly bears, 9 male lions, 8 lionesses, 1 baboon, 3 mountain lions, and 18 Bengal tigers. 1 monkey remains unaccounted for. The legislation the governor has passed will allow authorities more power to eradicate unlicensed auctions of exotic animals in Ohio. The executive order also enforces the relationships between humane societies and law enforcement to identify the location of potentially dangerous non-native animals. The Humane Society of America does not blame Ohio police for taking deadly force against the animals, but they feel as though Governor Kasich's bill is not strong enough, and the Humane Society would prefer it if the governor banned the buying or selling of exotic animals whatsoever.
United States Democratic Representative Gabrielle Giffords is currently undergoing intensive therapy, according to CNN. She arrived at Asheville, North Carolina yesterday and is scheduled to be at an undisclosed hospital till November 4th. Giffords was shot in the head on January 8th during a public event in Tucson, Arizona, where an individual conducted a mass shooting which left 6 people killed and 12 other citizens injured. Giffords has already been working the last several months with therapists at the TIRR Memorial Hermann Institute for Rehabilitation and Research in Houston, Texas, where she has relearned how to walk and talk. We're taking one final break for the evening, but we'll have your international stories when we return.
Horseradish. Is that for horses? Remember me, Mr. Lobster? From last Tuesday? Banana. 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 Here comes the rain. We need a hat. And why do we need a hat? They dry. That's right.
When you talk with your child, you build vocabulary, and learning starts long before school does. For more tips, go to bornlearning.org.
Welcome back to the Beaver News live on Channel 26. In Germany, the phrase, "what goes up must come down," is on everyone's mind this week as a broken German satellite falls back to Earth. Launched in 1990, the satellite was used for nearly a decade for X-ray imaging technology before the sun caused irreversible damage to the equipment. The satellite, known as ROSAT, used a large telescope to observe everything from the moon to supernova remnants to black holes. According to CNN, scientists predict that the satellite will re-enter Earth's atmosphere and break apart into approximately 30 pieces, the largest and most dangerous of these pieces being the 1.7-ton heat-resistant telescope. However, scientists say the likelihood of anyone being harmed by the remnants are very low. In fact, they predict that the entire continents, like Europe, Africa, and Australia, are completely out of its current trajectory. The U.S. Department of Defense claims that more than 21,800 man-made objects have re-entered the Earth's atmosphere since atmosphere tracking began with the introduction of Sputnik in the late 1950s. ROSAT will just be another of many more to come.
A 7.2 magnitude earthquake devastated eastern Turkey yesterday, leaving 279 dead and 1,300 injured, according to CNN. Additionally, approximately 970 buildings collapsed, including 25 apartment complexes, a student dormitory, and part of a hospital. The earthquake struck at 1:41 p.m. local time and originated 12 miles from Van, a city in southeast Turkey. Numerous aftershocks were also recorded, the largest of which reached a magnitude of 6.0. A crisis center has been set up by the country's health ministry in the capital city Ankara. More than 2,300 emergency personnel from surrounding cities and countries have responded, some of them arriving as far away as Iran and Azerbaijan. CNN's meteorologist Reynolds Wolfe stated, quote, "Turkey is no stranger to having these seismic events, but Sunday's quake is considered major," end quote. Turkey has had over 58 earthquakes reaching a 7.0 magnitude in the 20th century alone.
China is having to take a good look in the mirror to reflect on their morals after an incident this week involving a double hit-and-run incident and a small girl. Earlier last week in southern China, a 2-year-old girl was hit by 2 different cars when she accidentally wandered into a small alleyway. What's even more concerning is that no less than 18 people passed her by as she laid there dying in the street. It wasn't until an elderly woman passed by 10 minutes after the incident was help finally called. The entire scene was caught on tape by security cameras in the area. According to CNN, the little girl known as Wang Yue died in intensive care earlier this weekend. The posting of the security footage online has prompted an outcry for national sympathy and outrage for the state of the nation's conscience. In response to the incident, some people are blaming the so-called spiritual vacuum, a term applied to the mindset of the people in the national competition to make money and climb the social ladder, which many say is leading citizens away from basic morality. Yet others say that there is a disturbing lack of mutual trust in communities. A combined survey of 3 Beijing universities showed that a lack of trust among residents is the direct cause to their reluctance to help each other. They found out that general consensus of the population find offering help too risky. One Chinese newspaper, the China Daily, reported, quote, "There must be something wrong when it is considered risky to be a good Samaritan."
Rising tides in Thailand have caused devastating floods. According to CNN, over $6 billion in physical damage has been reported, and thus far, over 356 people have been killed, with nearly 9 million citizens being affected. Flood water reached Don Muang Airport earlier today, which is one of 2 major airports in the Thai capital of Bangkok. It was also headquarters of the flood relief operation, which may now have to relocate. Additionally, residential areas all over Thailand are preparing for more floods. The Thai government has set up more than 1,700 shelters nationwide, and over 113,000 people have taken refuge. The floods are primarily being caused by an unusually heavy monsoon season. Attempts are being taken to control the water levels by utilizing sandbags and dams to divert and contain the water.
With the release of Apple's new iPhone 4S and the impact of the new voice-activated software called Siri, many people are wondering, why are so many computerized voices female? According to CNN, studies show that the answer is simple, that people in general find women's voices more pleasing than men's. Stanford University professor Clifford Nass shed some light on the subject by explaining, quote, "It's much easier to find a female voice that everyone likes than a male voice that everyone likes. It's a well-established phenomenon that the human brain is developed to like female voices," end quote. Answers to the question may also lie in history. Scientists have shown that since the invention of the telephone network and the introduction of female operators, people have become accustomed to getting assistance from a woman's voice. Some argue that the media has influenced on certain programming. During production, many developers wanted to stay away from male voices because of their connection to media-created ideas of evil supercomputers. Most notably, computers like HAL 9000, the homicidal AI from 2001: A Space Odyssey. Yet others think that the use of a female voice as a subservient secretary, as in the case of Siri, is sexist. However, social media project director Rebecca Zorak says that the focus of the technology is in regards to communications and relationships, which seem to fit a woman's areas of expertise.
As reported by CNN, Tropical Storm Rina is now being classified as a Category 1 hurricane, though it is expected to evolve to a Category 3 in the next 48 hours. It is currently 370 miles east-southeast of Chetumal, Mexico, but its projected course shifted early today and is now expected to arrive in Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula later this week. Reports from a U.S. Air Force reconnaissance aircraft clocks the hurricane's maximum sustained winds at speeds of 45 miles per hour. The hurricane itself is moving at approximately 6 miles per hour. Flood warnings already in place in several regions of Mexico and other parts of Central America are being stressed further as Rina is expected to bring an increased onslaught of rain. That's all the news we have for you tonight, but be sure to tune in tomorrow at 7 o'clock for more local, national, and international news right here on KBVR.